Okay, welcome everyone to the webinar today. I want to thank you for giving me your time. It's always very, very much appreciated. Give me a heads up if you can hear me. Just type in where you're from and what you like to trade. I would like to know that. And thank you once again for coming. So let's get started right on time here. We're going to teach you how to create a profitable news trading schedule, our best free tools for schedule creation. When you think about it, the schedule is the most important thing. So let's get started. And first, we'll just cover a little bit about what we do here at 10-Minute Trades. I was thinking today in the trade room, I can't believe how long I've been here. I'm in my 8th year of working for 10-Minute Trades, and I have seen it all, is the truth. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the trading director. I'm also the trade room moderator. Please keep in mind that all the trades we discuss are for educational purposes. It is possible to lose money trading futures, so please trade carefully. And at 10-Minute Trades, we trade a method we call appointment-based trading. We use the NinjaTrader platform, and we have proprietary software, and we trade futures. So when we talk about trading earnings, we're trading futures, not the stocks. Keep that in mind. NinjaTrader is our platform of choice, and we trade the futures. We have a system, a very reliable system. It includes our JOBB software. And the key to everything we do is our schedules. That's the key. We would not have a company, we wouldn't have anything to do if we didn't have our schedule. Because that is the key to the way that we trade. We trade on a schedule. We don't sit at our computer all day long waiting for setups. We have a weekly schedule that we create every Sunday. And today I'm going to go over all the tools that I use to create that schedule. And I'm going to also show you another very important tool for testing a trade. How do you know you want the event that you think you might want to trade? How do you know you want that event on the schedule? So that's a key, is using another free tool that's part of NinjaTrader to help you figure out if the event you find is worth even trading. So we have our own software. We call it NewsTrader software. It's also another strategy we have called our trap trade, and we have our magnet trade. And within all of these three strategies, we have a lot of different setups that you can use. You can trade in a discretionary manner, or you could trade exactly like we do the moment of a news report. You can use reversals and continuations after reports. We have a strategy called the magnet trade. We've done quite a few webinars on that. You can easily just go to our website, www.10minutetrades.com. You can get a copy of our free video, How to Find 10-Minute Trades. And more importantly, that will get you signed up for our free schedule. So go to our website, www.10minutetrades.com. Sign up for the free video, How to Find Your Own 10-Minute Trades. That will automatically sign you up for our free weekly schedule. You want to get the free weekly schedule. Why? It will help to keep you safe, and it's one of the 4 elements that make up our 10-minute trade system. The weekly market mover is what we affectionately call our weekly schedule. The daily market mover are our daily trade reports. Some of our events are given a analysis with a daily market trade report. And then, of course, Trade Room Access is part of our system, the NewsTrader software, Magnet software, and Trap Trade software. All of those pieces are the elements that make up our system. The weekly schedule is the key. Everything revolves around our schedule. Here is this week's schedule. Let me update it. I'll show you the real schedule. So, on the schedule, it shows you some very important information from the left to the right. First thing is the trigger time. What time are we going to have an event? Also, after the trigger time, what time does our trade room open? Does that event have a trade room? You could see that the first event Monday morning, French Flash Manufacturing Services, PMI, Did not have a trade room. It was 3:15 in the morning, and I did not feel I was getting up in the morning. I'm on the East Coast to take that trade. Sometimes I will get up at 3 in the morning if an event is performing really superlative. Then I will get up and trade them. Um, French flash manufacturing and German flash, they're trading pretty well, but it's a little bit tough to get up at 3 in the morning to trade. But like I said, sometimes I do it. Our first event of this week, the room opened, was 9:15 a.m. on Monday, Flash Manufacturing Services. So the trade trigger simply is the name of the trade, the name of the event, and then we have these three columns, the index that we might be trading, and I say might because everything final decision is made in the trade room. The schedule is the first step. The second step is the trade room where we analyze all the data we've come up with and we make sure that we have the right instrument to trade based on the current market volatility at that exact moment. Sometimes another instrument will be moving that we think we may want to trade. So nothing is in stone with trading. You have to be flexible. You have to be willing to keep your mind open. You have to be willing to make a quick change if the market demands it. But most of the time, our schedule is extremely reliable. Almost always, that instrument that's on the schedule will be traded. What we might do is add an additional instrument depending on market volatility. We also show in the third column DMM question mark. Does the event get treated to the analysis of a daily market mover trade report? That way, our members know if there's going to be a report posted to our website that talks about the event and how we're going to trade it. And then we have notes. We let you know when we're streaming on YouTube. Some of our reports are called EDU reports, educational rooms, where maybe, for instance, an event doesn't trade very well at the moment. The setup is not great and we're waiting for it to improve. So we may just use that room for educational purposes rather than trading real money or trading in a prop account. We trade cash and we trade in prop accounts, both, as do our members. And then we have something called watch. When we say watch on our schedule, that means here's an event. Maybe we've traded it before and the performance has gone downhill. So we're going to watch it because very often those types of events return back to the mean. They get back to their good performing again. Sometimes it's a new event and we want to watch it, keep an eye on it, see how it's performing. We might be adding it to our schedule. So when we say watch on the schedule, it means watch the trade, track it, keep an eye on it, and we may be adding it to our schedule or we might be removing it. Either is possible. So that was our current schedule this week. We're not done yet for the week. Tomorrow morning, we've told our members to keep an eye on Spanish Flash CPI at 3 in the morning, East Coast time. We will be in the trade room at 8 o'clock for the PCE price index, an important inflation report, and we'll also be streaming that live on our YouTube channel. All right. That's our weekly schedule. Let me go back to the area in the slides where I was. Give me half a second. We'll bring it back. Hang on. Okay, here we go. So that was our weekly schedule. Again, the system we use, WMM, we have a weekly market mover, the schedule. DMM is the daily trade report, trade room access software. Those are our elements, most important elements that make up our whole trading system. Now, the other thing that we have, so the DMM, what's a DMM? A daily market mover. It's a trade report and it educates our members on how we may be trading an event when we get to the trade room. It's got a mini journal on it. It's got the instrument we're trading. Of course, it's got the name of the event, the time of the event, a trade set up on this yellow line. That's what our daily market mover report is. And very, very important, of course, is our news trader software, the Magnet Trade and the Trap Trades. Our software is a custom strategy add-on for NinjaTrader. Our software has multiple setups. It can automate your trade entries, put your targets and stops on the chart, and it's also a super ATM. It's a program. It's an automated trade manager. What does that mean? It means that if you trade or if you're an experienced trader or even a beginning trader, but you've been trading for a couple of months or so, you'll know that many platforms have like a built-in programming language where you have to learn the language to tell the platform, well, I'm going to put my targets here. I want to put my stops here. I want to trail my stops, all that stuff. And you have to learn the language on how to do it. Well, when you use our software with NinjaTrader, you don't have to learn any language. You just learn to put the numbers in our software that tell the program how to be an automated trade manager. It's very easy, and we go over it every single trade room. We show our members how to set up the software for every single event that we trade. So we're constantly going over the setups, going over using the software. So when someone joins with us, you don't have to have a long, drawn out educational process. Just come into the trade room, and before you know it, in a week or two, especially if you pay attention and like to learn, in a week or two, you'll be up to speed on how to use our software with NinjaTrader. It's not complicated, and it's just a question of learning how to enter the information into our software program, and it is an automated trade manager. Appointment-based trading is what we call the way that we trade. When you saw the schedule, you notice that we have very specific times that we're in the trade room. It's a time-based approach to the market. We schedule our trades specific times, and you can schedule if you want up to a month in advance. Why do I love this type of trading? Very honestly, I love to trade, but I hate watching and being in the market all day, watching charts all day. When you trade this way, you don't have to sit in front of your computer all day. You could schedule it. When the Fed's having their statement, you can go and trade the Fed statement. When the FOMC minutes are being released, you could go at 2 o'clock on a Wednesday and trade the FOMC minutes. When the natural gas report gets released Thursday at 10:30, you could come into the trade room and trade the report with us. That's how we trade. It's a fantastic way to trade because let's be honest, the less you're in the market, the more money you'll make. There's less risk to money being taken from you, more risk to make money, the less time you spend. And most trading can be pretty boring. You're waiting around, waiting for setups. Lots of times they don't even happen. And then you have to wait for the next day for the setups to really be good. We know when our setups are going to occur. And yes, of course, there are trades that sometimes the news doesn't move the market the way we expect and we cancel a trade. But so what? It's no big deal. We have our times set up in advance. We know when we're going to be in the trade room, and people absolutely love trading the way that we trade. So what triggers an appointment-based trade? And this is critical to what we're going to go over today. There are three major categories that trigger the types of events that we trade. High impact economic reports like jobs reports, GDP, energy storage reports, all of those high impact economic reports, they move markets. Trigger category 2, big company earning reports. How many times have you watched what the markets do when Apple releases their earnings? Well, we came up with something really clever. We trade the futures markets when Apple releases their earnings. We came up with a whole system for trading earnings with futures. And we've done many webinars on that. You can, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, which of course is free, you can watch many of our educational webinars on how we trade these markets. And I think you'll enjoy them and absolutely want to come join us and trade along with us. And then the third trigger, markets open and closes. And we talk about open and closing times of day to trade every day in the trade room. People want to trade these the most, but they happen to be also the most difficult trades that there are. And it's because markets open and close are very inconsistent. Right now, it seems the market opens are trading better than the close, and we have we're talking with our members all the time in the room. They share setups. Very honestly, we don't have official market open and close trades, and it is because they are inconsistent. But we do have a great community of traders where members are trading their setups on these important times of day that people do enjoy trading. So, nevertheless, they are very important trigger categories that move the markets. And many of our setups in our software are entirely appropriate for market opens and closes because we have setups that are great for after the open, after the close. So that's a key part of our software, trading after the news and sometimes even before the news. Magnets often happen before the news. They can happen many different times of day, and that's a really fun and interesting way that we trade. And once again, lots of webinars up on our YouTube channel so you can understand a lot of the different ways that we trade. There's hundreds of triggers within these three categories that you can pick and choose to fit your schedule. And there is a key element to picking the right events. And that's one of the things we're going to discuss today. So very simply, how do I create the schedule? Every Thursday, sometimes Friday, I start combing through the data, the free calendars that are out there that list all the events that are going to take place in the markets. And of course, we have favorites. And I start usually with forexfactory.com. Forex Factory is real simple, it's clean, it's easy to understand. You just go to forexfactory.com, click on calendar, and it gives you a full week of data, a full week of information. Basically, it lists trades. It lists events. We turn them into trades. When they give you a red folder, that means it's a very impactful event, in their opinion. When they give you an orange folder, it's medium impact, and when they give you a yellow folder, it's less impact. A yellow folder can be a very impactful trade, and you're not going to know that unless you are experienced. If you just open a calendar for the first time, you're not going to know what the eventful trades are. Just because it's red doesn't necessarily mean it's going to create a great event to trade either. It's experience. It's the understanding how these events work. We have studied these events for 8 years, and we know which events are going to be the best ones to trade. Do we get everyone right? No. Sometimes we miss them. But that's also why we have that watch command on our schedule. We watch events that are new to the schedule. There's not always just the same old, same old. Often there's new events that we've never seen before, and we have to watch them and then test them. And it's a whole process, but it's easy. It's not complicated. So the first thing I do, forexfactory.com, and up at the top, I click the little arrow to go to next week. And I didn't look at the schedule yet for next week. So I'm going to actually create the schedule for next week. We have a template that I use, and it's not necessary that I give you our template, but just to be totally transparent, our template is real simple. It's a Word file, and I go through the schedule, and I notice the first thing I see is manufacturing PMI, a Chinese news report. So I've got to get my template that has Sunday, okay, so I can add that event to our schedule, because that's an event. If I'm really motivated, I might even have a Sunday evening trade room to trade that event. That is a tradable event. I know that through experience. It's also read according to Forex Factory. So we go through the whole week of events. Forex Factory, this 2:30 event Monday, German preliminary CPI, that's not going to be a tradable event. I know that just because it's not. There is other ways to trade German CPI, and that's not the best one. All right. These are the things we know through experience, but there are also ways you can test an event. So first things first, We're going to go through the calendars that I use to create the schedule. So most of the news events are gleaned from forexfactory.com, investing.com, and tradingeconomics.com. Those are the three main calendars I use regularly. So Forex Factory uses a color coding system to give you the most impactful events. So we see that we've got an event on Sunday evening. That is a tradable event. Then I just shoot over to Monday and I just go through all the events. Sometimes when a Fed head is speaking, we could theoretically schedule a trade room when a Fed person is speaking. They often move markets and create trades. Now, I noticed that Monday, Chicago PMI, that has been an event that we do have a trade room for. So that's an event we will add to our schedule. And then you could see the ECB is speaking. There's some Japanese news, another event that we trade, and it's yellow, but that doesn't mean it will not move a market. Again, Chinese news, their Caixin manufacturing report. We will probably have a trade room for that. So, first calendar, forexfactory.com. All right. Second calendar, investing.com. What's one of the main differences between investing.com and Forex Factory? I'll show you. First, let me show you how to get to the data. With investing.com, you go to the top, click on Tools, click on Economic Calendar. Then you get your calendar and just scroll on next week. Scroll to next week and click it. Now we have a full week of data from investing.com, and investing.com has something really cool also. We also use investing.com in our trade room, excuse me, to watch the news being released, because see how it has a forecast and then next to it it says actual? When we're in the trade room, about 85-90% of the time, so for instance, if we're in the trade room for Chinese manufacturing, when the news is released, the actual news gets released to the calendar, and we can compare it to the forecast. Usually there's a forecast. We can see what the real news is compared to the forecast. That's the reason news moves the markets. There's a forecast, then the news comes out. That news is different from the forecast. That crazy difference can create a very big move in the market. Or it might be exactly as expected news, and it might not be as big of a move. That's why news creates movement. But we use investing.com because they have a nice real-time method of showing the news results. Investing.com is different from Forex Factory in that they show a lot more international news than Forex Factory, and some smaller reports as well. They also tend to put the US bond reports, the bond auctions, are often on investing.com. So they use a system of stars to show what is impactful and what is not. 1 star is not impactful, 2 is medium, 3 is high impact. So for a beginner, someone who doesn't know the events that really do move the markets dramatically, you can start off by using the stars. And then, of course, as you learn, and as you learn to test events, you can create a schedule that is very valid for what's going to move. So I just go through the schedule, I look at all the events, we pull up our experience from years of trading news, and that's how we come up with the schedule. So investing.com, very nice for a lot of international. US bond auctions show up on there. Another great calendar that we like very much for helping us to trade the news and create our schedule. Third calendar, tradingeconomics.com. Very interesting calendar, something I never used to look at because I hadn't discovered it until recently. Tradingeconomics.com, click on calendar, very simple. They just use red for the most impact, dark black for medium impact, and that's how they do it. What's nice about tradingeconomics.com, they list pretty much everything that I find on Forex Factory and on investing.com, but they also include the grain reports. Grain reports might be the WASDE report, which is a planting report. Next week, we have a big grain report, the quarterly grain report, or better known as its official name, the grain stocks. That's a big report. It moves soybean, it moves corn, it could move some other grains that we don't trade, but it's a big report. Been very profitable for us. That I believe is next Monday. And in fact, we can check. I'm going to be doing the schedule probably later today or tomorrow. So I'll shoot over to Monday next week. And I know that that grain report is at noon. So I'm going to go down to noon. Now, what's fascinating is they don't consider it a high impact report. All right. We know better. It is a high impact report. It's going to move the market. Quarterly grain stocks, and I do believe they have the wrong time. So this is very interesting. That's normally a 12 noon report. They have it at 12:30. They are wrong. Okay. Nevertheless, I love this calendar. They have grain. They have a few things that other calendars don't have. Tradingeconomics.com. A very good calendar to use. So I might want to verify the grain reports. So there are extra calendars. There's extra ways that we go through the procedure to make sure that we don't miss anything important. All right, that's the key. We don't want to miss important news events that can generate profits for our members and for our account as well. We want to make sure we catch every trade. We do also use Financial Juice Pro, financialjuice.com. They have a squawk box. It helps us in our trading because we can listen to the news results in our headset. And they have a calendar as well. And they do things that are very interesting. They track Trump's schedule more closely than any other calendar. And like I said, they have a squawk box. Excellent, excellent product. We highly recommend it. I also use a website called Econoday. They have a nice schedule. Not one of my favorites, but I check it every now and then to make sure I don't miss something. And then, how do you find the bond auctions, the grains, and earnings? Three major elements of our schedule. So we were talking about the grains and how I believe that the grain report on Monday is incorrect. I'm positive the time is incorrect. To really check the grains definitively, you go to the USDA, and that's where the schedule is. So you get the schedule, and you can just go through it, right, by date. And if we go through to next Monday, you'll notice the grain stock report is at noon. That is the correct time of that schedule. These USDA schedules are really interesting. We have not found that many grain reports that are tradable for us, mostly because, in all honesty, we haven't had a lot of extra time to test all of these grain reports. One day, we would like to do a lot more testing on some of the grain, these reports that you see here. There probably are some grain reports that we're missing, but we do get the big ones, the grain stock report, which we call the quarterly grain report, WASDE, and also the NOPA grain report, which is a new one for us. But you get those at the USDA.gov publications, as long as that government agency isn't shut down by ridiculousness. Bond auctions, we have the grains. How do you find the bond auctions? Okay, we go to treasury.gov. All right, how do you find it? Because this is a long, crazy link. Let me tell you an easy way to find the PDF that shows you the bond auctions. We trade four of them: 30-year, 7-year, 10-year, 20-year. We trade all four of those auctions. We have two setups for both of them, And overall, we have some interesting setups for them. All you have to do is Google tentative treasury auctions. Tentative treasury auctions, and it'll bring you right to this PDF. This PDF has the auction date. The security type is on the left. We trade the 30-year bond. We trade the 20-year. We trade the 7-year note. And we trade, what I say, the 20, the 30, the 10, and the 7. And you just find the auction date, and the time is there. That's how we find and set up our bond auctions. Very easy. Okay? And then finally, my favorite season of the year is always earnings season. I just love earnings more than anything. The best way to find a good schedule of earnings trades, go to earningswhispers.com. Earningswhispers.com. Let me show you. Earningswhispers.com. It is a great, great site. I use it every week to find profitable trades. Let me see if my link is working. Here we go. How do you use earningswhispers.com? So first thing, when you get to the website, and I'm excited to see Netflix on here, July 17th. So we're only a couple of weeks away from big time earnings trades, folks. They're going to be starting next week because we're getting going here. The banks are going to start. The brokers are going to start. First thing is, across the top on earningswhispers.com are the greatest hits. If you click on it or just hover over it, shows you the date and the time that the earnings come out. JP Morgan, July 15th, 6:55 in the morning. We will be trading that. Okay? Also, go up top to calendar, click on calendar, and just go to the day. I want to start my schedule next week, so I click on Monday. And I like the list view, okay, because you can get more info in it. And it shows me a list of companies that are having their earnings Monday. First, I start Monday before the open. Next week is still very quiet for earnings, all right? It's probably going to be 2 weeks till we get going up. This little control panel shoots me through the two popular times that we look for trading earnings: before the market open and after the close. So I just go through the various days looking for companies that fit our rules for trading earnings. Very quiet next week. There probably won't be any earnings trades next week. But that's how we find our earnings trades, using earningswhispers.com. Also, there's great info that comes from their site. When you click on Netflix, for instance, Netflix is an earnings trade that we do trade pretty regularly. If you click on it, you get information. What happened the last time Netflix released their earnings? What time did Netflix release their earnings? Because that's very important with earnings. Earnings are not regulated by the government to release earnings at a specific time, like the non-farm payroll jobs report. That report is regulated when it comes out. Earnings are not regulated in the same way, so we have to do a significant amount of research to find the companies that release their earnings regularly, and those are the companies that make it onto our calendar. Netflix and earningswhispers.com gives us information on when Netflix was released the last time, how their earnings were with a chart for those earnings, and very important, what time did those earnings come out. So Earnings Whispers, not only does it give us the schedule, but it has quite a bit of help to help us while we're creating the schedule. And it shows us information that can help us decide whether or not a company might be worth trading, that their earnings may be worthwhile to try. Now, that brings up a very important issue. After you find an event, what if you just have no idea whatsoever whether or not it's a good event to trade? So what do? NinjaTrader has a feature in it, and we've given many webinars on this, okay? Many webinars on it. Now, in NinjaTrader, if you disconnect your live connection, we trade prop and we trade cash. If you then connect playback, go to continue. The playback tool then gives you a tape recorder that you can play back a time in the market that existed previously. So let's say, for argument's sake, you're looking at the schedule, right? And you're looking at Forex Factory. And just like I noticed on Forex Factory, you noticed that next week there's an interesting event Sunday evening at 9:30, Chinese manufacturing. I want to know what the previous report was and how it behaved to give me an idea whether that event is worth trading. So I can click on this detail folder, and it shows me that May 30th was the last time that this event took place. All right, May 30th, 9:30 p.m. I can click on it, verify the time. It's at 9:30 p.m. And it also shows me any other events that might have traded at that time. So armed with that information, okay, armed with that information, I am going to disconnect my playback, because you cannot download playback data if you're connected to the playback server. So you have to be disconnected from the playback server. Then I can go to Tools, Historical Data. It opens up a screen that looks like this, and I can download Get Market Replay Data. And what did we say the date was? May 30th. I'm going to download the data from May 30th, okay? And we trade copper on that report. So I'm going to look to download HG. It's a future, HG725. That's the symbol that I'm going to look to download. Now, if that symbol is not in my list of symbols, I'm going to go up to Tools, Instrument Lists, click on Futures, click on Add, and add that symbol, HG0725, enter. I've now added that symbol into my NinjaTrader. I can now get the market replay for HG725, click download. It's done downloading the data. Now I can make believe I'm going to trade that event just like it's May 30th at 9:30 p.m. I can connect now back to playback, press continue. I'm going to put my chart, HG0725, right? That was the chart we downloaded the data for. And in these two boxes, I'm going to put the same date, May 30th, 5/30/25 in both boxes, okay? Now, sometimes it does some calculation, but it's only a few seconds. 5/30/25. I'm going to right-click in this blank little space, go to, and what did we say? It was a 9:30 p.m. trade. So I'm going to get this so that my software will trigger before 9:30. So I'm going to do 9:29 and 45 seconds. I'm going to set up 15 seconds before the news is released and make sure it's PM. Okay? I'm going to okay it. Now my chart is actually 9:30 p.m. May 30th. This is what the chart looked like that evening. I can now use my software to set up a breakout trade and see if this news moved the market. 9:30, I would trigger the trade. 21.29.58. I would use a bracket of about 4 ticks. I would have not a very big trade. I know this trade. I would have targets of maybe 4 and 8 ticks with a stop of maybe 8 ticks. All right. Let's just leave it at that. Set up a very simple trade. I'm going to trigger a couple of seconds before 9:30 because that's the way we do it. 2 seconds before. I've got 2 positions, a small bracket, and you'll see exactly what I'm doing here. Once the trade gets ready, I'm going to label the trade. All right. It's a breakout for HG. We're going to trade copper on this Chinese news. I'm going to apply it. Okay it. Enable the trade by turning it on, by checking the box. Now when I press play, it's going to reset the time. There's a little bug in Ninja. I'm going to fix it by just putting my time back to the time of the trade, 21. Remember, I'm setting my software so that I can trade this event. 15, I'm going to start my software about 15 seconds. Hang on, I'm having a crazy, silly little problem here. 9. Oh, I forgot. You can't. You have to use single digits. 9:29. 15 seconds before the news, our market's going to start moving. 9:29:45 p.m. So watch. Now I'm testing this trade. This is going to tell me if this trade moves the market. We're going to get our brackets a couple of seconds before the news came out. I'm watching here. We're 5 seconds before the news gets released. Now, I noticed that something didn't work properly, and I'll tell you what it is, because this is a good thing to know. If you notice, ask and bid are set to 0. That tells me that the data didn't download properly. So I'm going to disconnect my connection. I'm going to go back to tools and back to historical data and make sure that it downloads properly. I'm going to get the market replay data. May 30th, right? That was our date. Now, I think I know what I did wrong. HG 725 is our data. I'm going to download it. So I downloaded the data again. So let's make sure I set everything up properly. Our chart is HG 725. We set up our software, 9:29:58. All right, that's what we want. A small bracket, my software, everything looks fine, that it's set up properly. Make sure I choose the right account. So I have to now connect to playback. All right, continue. Now I can choose my playback account. Playback is chosen. I can turn on the trade. Now let's see if the data is there. If the data is not there, it just might be a fluke that there's something wrong and that data is not available. Okay, May 30th, 9:29. $50 will do it. You only need 10 seconds before the news. Now, I'm not seeing the data there, folks, so let me download a different day so I can show you how this works. I want to show you the test, and I want to show it to you working. So let's find a different event, just because that one doesn't have data. So let's say we want to trade existing home sales, okay, which we know does often move the market. So we are going to open the data. The last report was May 22nd, okay? 5/22. That was our last existing home sale. Actually, this is this week, right? So if we're creating next week, let's find an event that's for next week on the Forex Factory website, right? And let's see what's going on. If we can find something that's active for next week. So let's scroll down, find something. Here we go. ISM Manufacturing, that's a big report. Previous June 2nd, okay? June 2nd. So we're going to go to Tools. We're going to disconnect our playback. We're going to go to Tools, Historical Data. I'm going to download the data from June 2nd, Get Market Replay Data. June 2nd. I know we trade gold on that. GC 825 is the instrument I'm downloading. The data should be downloaded. June 2nd, I'm going to put my chart on gold, GC 0825. I'm going to go back to connection and connect playback. And then June 2nd, I'm going to put in these two boxes in the little tape recorder controls. June 2nd, 2025, both boxes. 6, 2. If you get that error, you just have to start on the right instead of the left. It's no big deal. I've been doing testing for so many years. You just roll with it. It's easy. 6, 2, 225. In the blank space, right click. I'm going to go to the time of the trade, which is 10 o'clock. I'm going to go a little bit before that. East time, 9:59:50 is what I'm going to do. 9:59:50 a.m. Okay it. Now I know the data is there because I can see it in the ask and bid. There's numbers there. The data is there. I'm going to set up my software for this 10 o'clock in the morning trade. 9:59:59. I'm going to generate my orders. I'm going to put a bracket on the chart of 15 ticks. This is a pretty big moving trade. I'm going to put a 10 tick, 20 tick target and a 40 tick gold target. And I'm going to use a 30 tick stop. All right. So I have a breakout trade that I'm setting up. I'm going to label that trade breakout GC for breakout gold. The account is playback. Apply it. Okay it. Turn on the trade. Now when I press play, I have to reset that time, 9:59:50, and finally we will see a playback. I apologize. Everything that could have gone wrong this webinar was a little bit crazy, so it's usually not this long. Now, we know that we're in the market right before a very important report. We want to test and see if it's worth trading. Press play. Now the market is moving. Our brackets, our orders will show up in a couple of seconds if we did everything right. This is going to be one of those webinars where I do everything wrong. So let's, oh, I see what I did. Make sure you put the time in right, 9:59, not 9:51. 9:59:50. Here we go. I am human. Every now and then I make a mistake. All right, here we go. 4 seconds, our orders will show up on the chart. If they don't, I'm going to go home. Come on. There's our brackets. The news comes out. It bursts up, hits our first target for a $200 profit. That's what happened right here. It already hit our target. Now, price is following through to the upside. What I would like to do is test and practice this event. I'd like to get to be able to move my stop to safety if I can. Initially, because it hit, well, now I can move my stop to safety. So no matter what, I can now trail as the price moves up. But you could see it was a significant move on that news, generally telling me that is a very worthwhile event to trade. Now I realize a couple of things went wrong. We didn't have data when we first tried downloading. It's no big deal. You just go through the process, practice, test the trades. Any event can be tested. You don't have to test every event if you're trading with us. In the beginning, we do the testing and we'll tell you which events are the best ones to trade. That's the way that we create our calendar. We go through all of these procedures, and I do it. I don't do testing every week before I create the calendar. What we do is we set up our calendar, then myself and our team member Chantal, we spend hours on Sunday morning going through our various events, testing the ones that need testing, analyzing the ones that don't need testing. So what do I mean by analyzing? So if you notice, there is a tool in NinjaTrader called the ruler. That ruler can be very handy when you do a test. It can show you a candle that spiked. The orange arrow is the place the orders were when the news, the place that the orange arrow is the current price when our orders went on the chart. The orange arrow is the current price when the orders went on the chart. So in other words, that candle spiked after the news came out. If you go to the top of the NinjaTrader chart, click the pencil, click the ruler, you could see how big the spike was by measuring it. That helps us determine how big our brackets are going to be, how big our trap trade reversals are going to be. That was a 39 tick spike. Now, it did take a little bit time to spike that amount. Sometimes the spike is not as big immediately. All of these things come into our testing. It's all about understanding that an event needs to be tested. Ultimately, you watch and study the way the events behave. So sometimes you don't have to test. All you have to do is watch the event over and over and over. So I record the ISM report, for instance, every month, and we study its behavior every month. We've been trading ISM for 8 years. We watch the way it behaves. We know the way it behaves. It changes sometimes the way it behaves. We keep an eye on it, changing our setups when it's necessary. But all of this fits into creating a schedule that's going to help you to create the most profitable trades. The key things that you want to learn if you're going to do your own testing: learn to use playback, learn to use the ruler, and go through the schedule the way that we do. Any questions? All right? Any questions? That is a lot of information all in one webinar. Anybody have any questions? So look, everyone, here is the deal. Wouldn't you love to come into all of our trade rooms for all of the upcoming news, earnings, magnet trades, not have to do anything except learn at first by doing what we're doing? You can follow the trades that we're going to do. We'll teach you more and more about testing, about using the calendars. Wouldn't you love to join us and take these trades? They're fantastic. You'll get access to our News Trader software, access to the Daily Market Mover trade reports. You'll get them the day before an event. We send our members our trade reports the day before so that they can study the trade report and know what they're going to do tomorrow. Daily Market Movers, they're very, very valuable trade reports. Also, you'll get access to our Pro Trade Room. You'll come in, join our community, spend the time with us learning all about the software and the way that we trade. And then, of course, you get access to all of our software, all the setups. Nothing is held back. It's a full Pro Trade membership. You can trade in a prop account. You can trade in a cash account. Our 10-minute trade Pro membership, you could take our 30-day trial for just $20.25. www.gopro25.com. This trial offer is going to expire tomorrow night at midnight. $20.25. Folks, it's ridiculous to learn for a month all the things that we teach. It's worth thousands and thousands of dollars. You learn to keep yourself safe when news is coming out, even if you eventually don't want to be a news trader. Just go www.gopro25.com. If you love trading with us, and many people do, it's just $97 a month after that. You can cancel anytime by just sending us a simple email. And this offer is going to expire tomorrow at midnight. All the things that you get, our News Trader software suite, the Magnet Trade, will teach you all about the appointment-based trading system. Choose the events you want to trade. You'll know how to make your own schedule. All of our earnings trade rooms that are coming up in 3 weeks. earnings season is going to explode with setups. Learn how to trade stock earnings with futures, trade on a schedule, the schedule you want to trade on. I will teach you step by step in our trade rooms. That's what we do. We teach and we trade every day in our trade room. We have our family money trades, the best events to trade. We call them our family money trades. Pro membership trial for 30 days, just $20.25. It's ridiculous. www.gopro25.com. We would love to see everybody join with us. You'll get the Magnet Trade, the live trading room, our news trader software, a teacher who cares about you succeeding. So, folks, I'd love to see you there. www.gopro25.com. Expires tomorrow at midnight. I'd love to see you all next week in the trade room. Thanks so much for joining me on this webinar. And I hope you learned how to create your own schedule, how to test the trade, and I'll see you all in the trade room. Thank you again, Lee Goldstein, for 10-Minute Trades. I'll see you soon.